Another edition of Riding Home, the Legge and Matt DeBary. It's a huge recruiting weekend in Athens. Matt, we can't know everything that's going on, and by the time this is listened to by the audience out there, things can change. But I did want to go over what has been a big weekend. We should assume nothing less for Kirby Smart and company. This is a group that knows how to recruit, always has. Let's go through some of the lists of guys who are there this weekend, and we'll stop on the big name. Really, the two biggest names, I would say. Warren Brinson, Dante Manning, Tate Ratledge, Eric Reed, Jontavius Robertson, Arian Smith, and then Kylie Ringo and
Jordan Burch.
Jordan Burch. I also skipped Jalen Carter. I think they may have played in the state championship game at a Popka. I'm not sure. But those two guys at the end there, Keely Ringo and then Jordan Burch. Now Jordan Burch is the one that's got everyone talking. I don't think there's at this point any denying that Georgia has momentum. Whether they have all the momentum or not, I'm not sure. But your reaction to what's going on with Jordan Burch and where he's going. Well,
Yeah.
not where he's going, but where this is going, I guess you could say.
Well, right now the momentum is all you can ask for, especially in a recruitment like his, where it's kind of been all over the place. He's very quiet. He doesn't take a ton of visits, and I believe the last time he was in Athens was for the South Carolina game.
That's
So
right.
a lot of people thought that might have left a bad taste in his mouth, but he was in April for the spring game at G-Day. He was back in May for the scavenger hunt weekend. Keely Ringo was there for that as well. Those two have become good buddies. So the fact that Jordan Burch does plan to sign next week, and his last official visit the weekend before signing day was to Georgia, I mean, you have to say that the Bulldog staff has the momentum here. And this is the best time to have it. He's one of the top players in the country. He's been a priority for this staff for a long time. He's made multiple visits this year, with this one being the most important, just a few days away from signing day. And I think Georgia has to really, really like where they sit. Obviously, it's Sunday right now. I believe he's still there on the visit, but you really have to start liking Georgia's chances a little bit here.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, the question is, do they have enough momentum to overcome getting him out of state? Now, when you talk about guys from South Carolina, leaving the state has never really been that big of an issue when you think about a lot of good players from South Carolina through the years. But Jordan Burch in particular moved from Florence to Columbia. The head coach of South Carolina, his son, and Jordan Burch are close or are friends at a minimum. So he sees plenty of Will Muschamp, and Muschamp wasn't fired this year. As it relates to Clemson, I don't think Clemson knows, and I think that's probably not a great position to be in. I don't know that Georgia necessarily knows, but Georgia has him on the last visit. Georgia has visited him over the weekend with the basketball game. Excuse me, on Thursday night, I think it was with the basketball game. So
Right.
they've been around Birch a ton, and I think to me, Matt, and I've only covered recruiting for 20 years, so I don't know everything about all these kids. I'm being serious. I mean, in 20
Yeah.
years, you see different things all the time. With this guy in particular, what's going on is he just doesn't want to be public about anything. But the people that I know that cover South Carolina and Clemson and the sources that I have at those places, it's a little better than I do in some cases with other institutions, I guess you could say. But they don't know, and I think that it has to be that if you're not sure going into signing day, then that means you probably aren't where you need to be with the kid. I think Georgia's got the momentum right this second. I don't know where he's going to sign, but I give Georgia at least a 50% chance, maybe higher. But he's been so hesitant to talk to anybody, um, and you do have to wonder why, I guess. But
Well, I
it's
think,
his prerogative too. And one
yeah.
other thing to point out here, Matt, is that he won't sign until Thursday. Is the word on the street? So it won't be signing day. I keep saying signing day, but it will probably be
Yeah.
Thursday.
The early signing day period.
Correct.
But Yeah. I think the mother has a lot of influence. I don't want to say control over his recruitment, but she does have a lot of influence. And you got to like Dabo and Kirby Smart's chances there. And Kirby does a great job around signing day. We've seen it the last 2 years, not only in the early signing day period, but in February as well. So when it comes down to crunch time, I mean, they came in and got Nakobe Dean last minute and a few others. So they really know how to do a good job of closing with their big targets, and obviously Jordan Burch is definitely one of those guys.
And the parents should have a lot of say and control. I mean,
absolutely.
You don't think Chris Milton has something to say about his son? I mean, this is what it is. I would have a lot to say about my kids too. So it's just what it is. They've raised them, and they should have say and control. You know, control sounds negative, but
right.
You know, they're the ones that have been taking these guys to McDonald's and church and, you know, wherever else you want to go as a child. So
if you don't win over the mom, you're not getting the kid.
Well, speaking of which, I mean, Keely Ringo, I mean, the mother is extremely important there.
Absolutely. He's a guy that I've said for a while now. When he first got offered by Georgia, I reached out to him, and this was a year and a half ago. It was July 2018. And he got back with me immediately. He doesn't really do that anymore. Now he's a big 5-star about to sign. But early on in the process, he let me know, hey, Georgia's really a team that I like. I want to play in the SEC. I love Coach Kirby Smart and what they've got going on down there. So when Georgia originally offered a long time ago, it meant a lot to him. And so I've kind of stayed with him about it. And, again, he was in Athens for the spring game this past April, was back in May. I think he's made another visit or two. I don't think he was able to make it out there for a game this fall, but he was there this weekend. And if you're on Dog Post, which if you're listening to this, you should be, I've said it, you know, Georgia's had a really, really good chance here for a while. I still think it's a Georgia-Oregon battle. And I think if signing day were tomorrow or whenever he plans to announce, I think it's going to be at an all-star game. I still think Georgia's the team to beat.
My daughter making a signing day appearance there on this Sunday. I don't know if you heard her screaming at me. I don't know what concoction has happened here lately. Maybe the elf on the shelf is in the wrong spot. Don't do elf on a shelf. I am not participating in that. All I can. You know, signing day is more and more. I don't know. Confusing is the right way, but you know, for us, people like me and you who live in the state, it's really tough to know with out-of-state guys. And when you look at who, you know, is just this week visiting. And now Warren Brinson obviously has been committed to Georgia for a while, but Dante Manning from Kansas City. You've got Eric Reed from Shreveport. Keely, obviously, from Arizona. Arian Smith from Florida. That's a one to watch for sure for Georgia. 4-star wide receiver. You want to talk about him for a second?
Major Burns, another guy, real quick, decommitted from LSU. I think Georgia is probably in the landing spot for him. He was an Ole Miss commitment for a long time under Matt Luke. They started pushing for him. He decommitted from Ole Miss the day after Matt Luke got fired. Matt Luke's at Georgia. He makes it in town, so he's definitely a guy to watch. But, yeah, I think with Dante Manning, it's a Georgia-Texas A&M battle. And I spoke with people this morning about that, and they said, well, we thought it was 50-50, but him showing up in Athens for an official visit the weekend before signing day leads us to believe that Georgia is the leader and could be the pick there. I mean, Georgia only has one current DB committed, Jalen Kimber. Obviously, Keely Ringo is the big prize, and I think Georgia leads there. But then you look at Dante Manning, you look at, again, Eric Reed, who I just talked about, and a guy like Major Burns, who decommitted from LSU not too long ago. I think I got those mixed up earlier. Eric Reed is the guy who decommitted from Ole Miss and has the Matt Luke connection there. And then Major Burns just decommitted from LSU. So,
well, let's wrap it here on this last guy, which is a guy that we met 4 years ago with Jermaine Burton. We met him at Hateville. He's been all around the world and then some. And this weekend he's in Athens for an official visit.
Yeah, again, we saw him at Hateville. We've known this kid for a long time. Georgia's always been in the mix with him. He was teammates with Nolan Smith at IMG. He came up and was at Georgia's spring game 2 years ago. I mean, he knows Kirby. He has for years now. Georgia's always pushed for him, and he's definitely a guy to watch. Georgia wants to bring in more speed, and they want to bring in 2 more wide receivers. Obviously, Arian Smith, one of the fastest players in the country. He's on campus, and we've been told that Jermaine Burton is in Athens again.
No, he is. Yeah, he's definitely on an official.
Definitely definitely on in Athens then. But yeah, it's not. It's kind of weird to see guys decommit from LSU the way they've been playing. But with a guy like Jermaine Burton, who's known the staff for so long, obviously grew up in Athens, or not in Athens, but in Georgia, played at Hateville, came back and played at Marietta. So there's a lot of backstory there. And he is a really, really good player. Another guy to watch, and just another guy that we've got our eye on heading into signing day.
Okay, go to dogpost.com. Make sure you subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. Same thing goes for iTunes, etc. We appreciate everybody listening. I'm gonna link some stuff up above to check out, but stay tuned to Dog Post. This is ever changing this time of year.